Final prediction weekend. We've got a lot of final stuff to finalize here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show, presented by such and such. That is Coop. I'm Jay. Thanks for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to while you're here. Please wipe your feet, like, subscribe, rate, review, and give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Go ahead and give us 5 anyway, and gift it. So, on today's episode of the Sooner or Later Sports Show, me and Coop's got the fun stuff teed up for you. We're going to talk about the final scrimmage notes, as well as the latest defensive line commitment. We're going to give you our final predictions, game by game, and the final record. Then we're going to debate with you all on where we are right and where we are wrong. So make sure you stick around all the way through the show so you can have fun with us. Coop, happy Sunday, my boy. How you feeling?
Jay, I'll add another final. It is finally time for football this week. We get college football this week, and we are, what are we, just like 13 days away. Come on now. RDS
I don't know how I feel,
there.
man. Oh, we're there, though. We're there. Like, I don't think y'all understand how hyped we both are about college football coming. But at the same time, I don't even understand how hyped y'all are, because I know y'all been losing y'all minds. Y'all just want games to happen. Y'all want the bounce back. And I think the bounce back is going to be epic, especially all the stuff that I've seen from a lot of the talking heads of the world. Yeah, boy, it's going to be one for the ages. So thank y'all for pulling up. We appreciate the love. I see everybody's dropping their predictions in there. As our boy always says, you know what the heck to do. Get in the water. Just go ahead and do it, baby. Just go ahead and do it. Coop, let's start off with the latest commitment. I think that makes the most sense, right? We can dive into the latest pickup by the Sooners. They got themselves a commitment on in the trenches, something that you all, of course, like. We got Tank Carrington. He picked Oklahoma over the competition, bringing Oklahoma 17 commits on the defensive line. He's a big boy. Everybody had him listed wrong. I think he's roughly 6'2.5", about 270 plus right now. But Coop, how you feel about this latest pickup?
Tank Carrington was a guy that early in the recruiting cycles, I mean, he was a 5-star, reclassified, came back a little bit, and now listed as a 3-star guy. But posted his kind of updated weight the other day. I think he had it at 267. So I mean, this is a guy who's continuing to bulk himself up. This is one that I mean, we were in the running for at the beginning of the cycle. He was looked at by a bunch of different schools. The offer list is the top of the top. So man, it's crazy if you want to slam on every single OU recruit, and that's even, man, as an OU fan or not an OU fan. He's just a 3-star. This isn't anything. I mean, he's not even a really good 4-star. He's probably going to be a 3 by the end of the cycle. Or if he's a 5-star, well, yeah, but he won't pan out. So what does everybody want? What does everybody want? Like, this dude is absolutely, this is a guy that's both Nagy and both Todd Bates said, I want this dude on my spot. Also, they went after him. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that I will always defer to Jim Nagy and Todd Bates over random dude on Twitter.
Right, exactly. Speaking to the mic a little bit more too, Coop, but you're 100% correct, because that to me is where I take some issue with how some fans treat a lot of this. I like the Tank Carrington pickup. He was one that, like I said, we've all looked at. His offer list is ridiculous. He decommitted from Florida State early this week and flipped to us, which, we were working on that one for a bit, it sounds like. Alabama wanted him. He has offers from Colorado, Florida, Georgia. He was visiting Georgia like crazy as a sophomore. Like, I think he was on campus like 3 or 4 times. I think that's probably the school he visited the most, if I am correct. But he had LSU, Miami, Michigan, Michigan State, Nebraska, Notre Dame, Ole Miss, Oregon. Syracuse, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas A&M, USC, but Washington, Wisconsin, basically all the schools that go after big trench guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
The list is thick. It's thorough. It's full of schools that all of you would typically say, oh, okay, yeah, I think we should be able to consider this player. And that's kind of why I'm just like, I like him as an option. I saw what Oklahoma saw out of him. It feels like for the Sooners, the main thing was, they had looked at him from, like you said, from the beginning. We had looked to bring him in. And I think he mentioned that, just the schedules didn't work out for him to make the visit.
Yeah.
But he had been very interested in Oklahoma for a while. And so, that offer list here, it's thorough. All the schools that you would want him to be offered by is on this list of schools. So, yeah, that's most important. Like I said, Georgia, he spent a lot of time at Georgia and visiting with them. So I'm just like, yeah, that's a pretty solid pickup to me. So he adds to the class. That's him, Brian Harris right now. That's 2 interior guys. You got 3 edges, and I expect us to get at least 1 more.
Yeah, and you're looking back into it. Jim Nagy has not been too afraid to say that he's going to be working on some guys. Going back in through some of these evals, and let's just go with this. A lot of guys wanted to wait and see what Oklahoma was doing. I think this would segue into the next thing, Jay, because a lot of people are waiting for OU, but now you're starting to see a lot of the people, kind of like really look at it from an intellectual and intelligent, viewing point of what OU is going to be this year. And a lot of the hype is hopping up there. I know folks are upset that Oklahoma being listed as not only the best defensive line in the SEC, but potentially in the country. A lot of people don't want to hear that because that's always been a good point against Oklahoma's. Yeah, but they'll never feel the defense, right? And so these kids are now starting to go, okay, well, Josh Pate just said that type of stuff, and that's what the coaching staff's been kind of saying to me. And so now you're starting to see a little bit more in recruiting with intention from this staff. It's going to continue to happen. There's going to be some other guys along the lines that are going to start taking a look at what's going on. Nagy's doing it in just the same way that they did at the Patriots. You get yourself really good dudes on the lines. That's defensive line, offensive line. Get yourself a good quarterback. And then you start filling in right around everything else, and you have yourself a good offensive line and a good quarterback, and you guys, the skill guys can really have a little bit more freedom to go out and just play and make the play out in front of them.
Exactly. And for him, if I've been looking for stuff on him reclassifying, I haven't found anything, but I have heard that he did. In that case, he's younger, so he's got still a lot of room to grow, which, to be honest, we could use some projects. Really, like I put like this: Marcus Strong was considered a project for this team when we went ahead and signed him. What was that, in the 23 class or whatnot? Yeah, I think he was considered a project. He was a little undersized, and they wanted to see what he turned into. And he's like over 300-something pounds, and supposedly, he got 2 sacks in the Temple game, but like in back-to-back plays, which was pretty absurd for him to do that fast. But he's got his body over. He's at what? Let me see. Marcus Strong is sitting at. He's roughly teetering around 300 pounds right now. He was 303 in the spring after the summer workouts and stuff. He dropped to 297. He'll be back up to over 300 pounds for the season itself, but he came in redshirt sophomore. He was a project, and he's one that's probably going to see some field time. And I say that about with Tank. If he's younger, he's going to need time to grow. The good thing is that we've got time. You still got David Stone, who's only a sophomore. Nigel Smith, redshirt freshman. You've got Jaden Jackson, who's a sophomore. You've got about 2 years of depth on the defensive line that you can start bringing in more players that will be quote-unquote projects, because you're only losing Grayson Halton and Dominic Williams guaranteed. They're the only 2 that's guaranteed to be gone, and the only ones actually eligible to leave anyway. So with that being said, you need some people to be behind these players in order to take on, take some of these snaps. And so for Oklahoma, getting 4 interior guys is actually really good for this class because somebody's going to pop and they're going to be ready to play. You've already got them on your roster. Because when I look at the defensive line, though, Coop, I was looking through this the other day as I'm, going through all my charts and stuff. Bro, we are a lot younger on the line than I thought. But we've got some very high-end seniors, right? And you got some pretty high-floor sophomores. That's pretty impressive that we were able to do that flip within the first 4 years of Brent Venables' era.
You got to take year one. They didn't have a lot of time to get in and really start flipping on the lines. You're not going to get that type of that open opportunity. You slowly started pulling in some guys from the portal to fill spots, and then you looked at last year, and there were guys like Taylor Wine who, really towards the end of the year got a few snaps here and there, but there weren't a lot of the younger guys that actually had a major role, and so now. You said it. You're dead solid on it. It's crazy to see just in a few years learning Brent Venables' defense. Learning the stuff through Chavis and Bates. You have those these guys. They've only learned that, so there's not ever been any warring or anything like that. The older guys got to tutor them, and so going into next year, I will say if you're looking for, you guys. Have a good line this year because next year it's not going to be as good. I mean, it's going to be this way for the next couple of years. I'm not worried about 27 until 27. I'm not worried about 26 until 26. I'm worried about 25 because we've got, we're going to have, like I said, you're going to have a lot of solid dudes who are, again, year 1, year 2 in the program, some of them year 3. It's going to be a young side on both lines, and it just gets you excited.
That's
because it's not
part. Yeah,
you're not, and it's not like you're looking at one guy that's really, really good and then a bunch of just other guys. Like, it's every single one of these people. Like, talking when we get into the scrimmage notes from this past weekend, that was one of the biggest notes that I saw kind of across the board. And I guess the same person was saying this to a lot of different people is, that entire defensive line doesn't look like anybody you want to make mad.
Oh, boy, that was probably my favorite quote that I've seen come through. So let's jump into that. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. So scrimmage notes. We're going to go talk. Let's talk about the scrimmage. There was one this weekend. I think it was the alumni scrimmage, but it wasn't really like a real scrimmage. Every note that I've seen and everything that's been passed around, everything that's been sent to me, similar to you, Coop, has been that they did a few things here and there. They had some fun, but you know what we did do, Coop? And I'm going to knock on wood here so that no one steps on the side of a curb and hurt themselves. But I think we walked out of this bad boy not as scathed as we thought we were going to be. Brent Venables talked about this in the last media. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday after the situational stuff, the scrimmage. And BV basically said that the injuries we're dealing with are your traditional practice bumps and bruises. So kind of a good thing. You got the stuff that you would typically have. Guys are going to be sore. Guys get hit in certain ways, so things kind of tingle, and you got to take a couple of days to let it heal over. Basically building up the calluses in preparation to be hitting and hitting and hitting for the next 12, 13, 14 weeks. I'm very happy to hear that. Now we just wait on Jaden Gibson to see if he's going to be able to contribute this year. He's still on whatever timeline he's on. No one's giving us a legitimate, but we'll wait. Giovanni is on a timeline of hopefully before SEC play. Possibly Michigan, not sure, but it's just waiting. But neither one of them have boots. Neither one of them have braces. They're both doing some movement and jogging and running. So they're probably getting themselves into shape. But I'm happy to see that they both are, for the most part, going around. So give us your best feeling on the notes.
Yeah, there's no year-ending injuries coming out of the camp. The camp is now over. Well, I can say camp is now over. They're going to get after it tomorrow, and it's going to. Are you going to go get real? Oh, I thought you were going to turn around and get a 2x4 and actually knock on wood.
Yeah, I knocked on the wood behind me.
I got
actual wood.
I got it right here too. I got it right here too. But it's. You're starting to see some of the reports about injuries on for other programs around the country. And you just go, oh my gosh, like this is great because reinforcements are coming. Like you're getting everybody who is hurt right now was hurt prior to this, to the fall camp starting, and now they are in recovery and get back mode.
Yep.
But yeah, it is. This was kind of like the intensity of. Man, guys, we are, the plane's stuck on the tarmac. Let's go out and run through some stuff. They spent some times in light pads. They didn't really do much. But, man, Deion Burks was one of the big ones that I heard, which is something that you definitely like to hear is Deion Burks had himself a good week, had himself a good scrimmage, the past scrimmage. So he has, really, really turned it on. You continue to hear the Blaylock stock. Those are some big pieces. A lot of people are saying that he's now at a spot where you're having some trouble figuring out. And now this is why the coaches make the money is because you got a really good running back room, and with Blaylock being able to pop in there and actually add himself some stuff, even better. But yeah, I mean, it was a pretty light deal. It goes now for implementation this week. This is, the Venables is going to, get the guys in looks that, to expect from Michigan, something that maybe Auburn threw at us and see what the offense, responds like. And then also vice versa, taking some of those things. So you're getting more into situational. You're going to have all those offensive linemen guys back in this week. And so now it is, all right, so what is our best combination here? Because obviously you've got competitive depth across the offensive line too. And these guys have taken advantage of the when guys have gone and out, so many different guys have taken advantage of that open opportunity and that extra playing time. So now that is it right there. And it's great, Jay, because I think in the past we were like, hey, listen, what that blank depth meant was that you could put a dude in and it wasn't going to be an embarrassment. Now I really think it's like you have guys on the second and even the third team who are producing and who are showing out, and who are guys who are like, if dude has to come off for a breather or something happens or he does get dinged, you get a guy that comes in and it's the same intensity and it's the same caliber of athlete and same caliber of play. So I'm pretty excited because they're going to be running some stuff out here. I mean, Illinois State's no slouch, and so they're probably going to be putting some stuff in for them also.
Yeah, you got to prepare yourself for them. I'm going to remind everybody, Illinois State was one of the better teams in FCS. Just because they were one of the better teams in FCS, you don't want to pretend like they're not very good. You don't want to put yourself in that situation. That's never a good thing. You're putting yourself in a spot of where you're going to get embarrassed. And the last thing we need is for us to get embarrassed. That kind of is my fault to say. But I like them as a team, and I think that they'll be we should be able to go through and dominate to close it. Just know that they're going to be a formidable opponent to start the game.
They're coming out to show that there's not their hope is let's not, we are the best in what we do. And you're coming in here, and you got to think of it from an Illinois State. The coach can at least tell those kids, like, hey, man, this is a team that, they didn't have a great year last year. So you're going to just see it's not going to be knife through butter when it's all said and done for this team. It's going to be more of the lines of, you're actually going to have to execute plays. You're not just going to incidentally into 80-yard touchdowns. Like, you're going to have to be pretty intentional about these things.
And I appreciate that. I want a team to come in and I want them to actually play hard. Now, granted, like I said, they're an FCS team. I do want them to be somewhat competitive. And I want us to close it out. I think the spread is 35 right now. I can see it's going to be 40.
Yeah, it's going to be about a 40-point win, and you out-athlete them in the long run, and just the depth is going to be the thing that they cannot live up to. But those frontline guys are going to hold up for a little bit. So, but
Exactly.
That's what you're getting into, Jay, is you're getting ready to those conversations are happening. It's not, hey, hypothetical. Now it is actually prepping for something in front of you.
That's fair. So, but overall scrimmage notes, if there's a freshman to keep your eyes on the offensive side, it's Torrey Blaylock. It appears that he is one that is going to be that problem child. Is that the one that you would pick as the one to watch, that you want to watch out for?
No, I'm still going Elijah Thomas.
I like that.
I think Elijah Thomas is going to see more and more as we go throughout the season. I think that Torrey, and that's not a knock on Torrey, that's just the path to play. Because now I will tell you this. Every single one of those guys out in front of him has something that they have to conquer themselves.
Yeah,
with Jade Knott, it's got to be the injuries. Javante Barnes, he has got to be dynamic. You can't just be, Leroy Jenkins in it right into the back of an offensive lineman. You can't. Xavier Robinson, man, he may be the only one. Not Taylor Tatum. It's your football. When you hand it to other folks, it better be a damn referee, and it better be after the whistle has been called done. And so, I mean, and then Blaylock is out there too, and I mean, still Gabe Sawchuk, still great, a great end of the line, into the bench guy. But I do think that Elijah he's just different. He has been going. It's been consistent. I expect both of them to have really, really solid outputs for the freshmen by the end of the year, though.
We actually got a fun group of young wide receivers when you really look at the roster. Like, I'm still very high on Josiah Martin coming in. I mean, he's from Texas, played at Cal. More so, nobody really jumped on Martin like that. But he came here, and he had some pretty fun catches, too, in the propaganda machine that was produced. Zion Kearney is still, one of my young guys that my eyes are open on. He was back at
always,
at practice. He's going to be some fun stuff, but I can definitely see why you would say Elijah as the freshman you think is the one that's going to probably, because he's pretty freakish. He's pretty freakish out there on the field. I would follow with you on that. I think the path to play is what jumps out the most for me when it comes to picking a player. I am starting to throw more and more of my my monies. I've been picking up a ton of these shares of Trinae Washington. He comes in as a already big tight end size. He's already at like 240 something as a true freshman, and he was like 220 in high school. So I don't know what the kid's been eating to get to that point, but he came in at 233 in the spring. He weighs now 248, which he's probably over 250 already, but he's 6'4", tight end, out of Carl Albert, true freshman. And I know that we've got a lot of questions in our tight end room. Not sure who's going to be the one to step out. But Coop, if I was to pick myself a true freshman on offense, it's going to be Trinae Washington's going to be that. And I've heard that he's looked pretty solid in scrimmage situations and stuff. So I'm probably going to ride with that. Defense-wise, though, man, it gets tough. But I think it's got to be Cortland Guillory for me. He's that dude. He's going to find a way on the field very early. Just seeing even him running around with the camera and when they went for the off day at O'Connor, and you saw him basically leading one of the cameras with him and Malik Hawkins. But Hawkins is a lot bigger than I thought he was going to be too. Jeez Louise. Cortland Guillory is going to be a dude that I say this season as a true freshman is probably going to make a lot of noise.
It's hard when you're picking a true freshman because the traffic they got in front of them. But, you went into this year going, all right, can Eli and Gentry be healthy enough to be there? I don't think that it is a situation to where I'm even worried about. If you get Eli and Gentry all year long, that is a blessing. And that is an absolute that's awesome. But I mean, I was listening to the Oklahoma breakdown. I re-listened to it again. For some reason, I'm like, this all sounds familiar as I was mowing today. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's the same one, from earlier in the week. So I was like, man, they're just using some of the same content. But it's crazy. Like, you actually got seven defensive backs that you can rely on right now. Corners. Yeah. And I'm just talking pure corners. Kendall Dolby was being available as a defensive back because maybe you might need him to do some of those things.
Yep.
But each one of these guys have just a little different. Jeremiah Newcomb, he was getting mentioned. But yeah, Cortland Guillory. I still remember our boy PG, prior to Guillory committing. He was like, I really, really like him, and I really like kind of how he carries himself. And he has shown up this summer, and he decided, this is the best opportunity I'm ever going to have to get myself in a spot that someone has to come take it from me. And I think that he took that that mentality this entire year. And so, can you have another freshman All-American defensive back this year right after having Eli last year? I think it's 100% possible. Now, if the health clears up out in front of him, or some of those guys continue just to do what they do, you're going to have a situation to where I think from the awards thing, and so everybody listening, because this is my set it down. This is a big bold claim here, is OU will have less people in the final season awards category than you want them to, because I think there's so many people that are going to play throughout. From the receiver standpoint, from a defensive back standpoint, from a safety standpoint. So if you look up at the end of the year and, I don't know, you get a default with some joker from Texas, in at the safety, and you're like, man, we had 3 safeties that were better than him. I think it's going to be because the snap counts are going to be so distributed evenly. But you end the season 10-2, 11-1, and I think that you would rather have that.
Yeah, you do want that. That would be what you would actually hope for, and I think we're going to get that. I think we're going to get a lot of contributors overall on the roster, which is a big deal. Was looking at preseason stuff from a lot of the analytics people out there, and I really liked what Kelly Ford put out there on his preseason top 30. Oklahoma higher here than they were over on the AP poll. This is closer to like FPI, I guess you could say. And I think FPI has Oklahoma in the top. I think we were in the top 20 as well. So pretty consistent. Everyone on the analytics side, simulations and numbers, they really think that Oklahoma has a really good chance of surprising all, which is crazy to me that we're in the top, because SPI has this number 16 in the country, and they don't think that they think we're not too far behind a lot of the SEC schools that we currently play against. So not bad. All we got to do now is go on the field and show it, and because the big question, as you mentioned, offensive line, people have questions on, in which I think we'll have 10 players that are ready to play, and I don't think that the combinations will be as plentiful as last year, but I do think you'll see probably 2 to 4 different ones throughout the season, which won't be a bad thing. It'll be more of a rest this guy, play this dude, get him experience, prep for the next set of big games, which is a good thing, because that 5-game stretch is going to be a doozy.
Well, you've still got a lot of youth, and there are going to be times to where, man, I might just say it, like, Ole Miss is going to come to town, and they're going to be a stout team. And you're going to have a time to where you want to get, a certain guy out there and a certain, group of 5 out there with some effort. Last year and this is, kind of tying in practice and what we're talking about, is last year a lot of the stuff coming out was, man, it almost was just tossed aside of trying to run against the defensive line, because the offensive line they couldn't do it. They just could not make it happen last year. And it does, and I will be happy to say that the notes coming out this year is that it does not matter which 5 are playing right now. At least they're able to move the ball. They can run the ball. It's not big explosive plays, but they're not getting pushed in the backfield. And something to the extent of, last year if you did that, Javonte, Sawchuk, Tatum were getting the ball and we're getting hit 3 yards in the backfield. And the offensive line just couldn't even hold up against them in practice. And so you're going to have some of these flips in and out. And you want to be able to know, again, these are your closers, right? When we're talking like the Thunder, is who are the last 5 that you want on the court in pressure minutes at the end of the game. Yeah, this is going to be the same thing for the offensive line. Who are the guys on this offensive line that when it is you really got to get out there and make something happen? Who are those 5? And who can you trust? And so it's going to be a battle going every single week because each guy, when they get their opportunity, they're going to want more opportunity the following week.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are going to be fighting for the opportunity to make sure that they're that dude. That's what you're going to see a lot of, which, I'm happy that we'll see a lot of that. I want to see our guys go out and say that they want to be that guy, which is always a plus. So we'll see a lot of that going on this year. All right. Let's shift over into some of these final predictions. We're going to look at the games first. Then we're going to go into the final season predictions to wrap things up. So hit that like button, new to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5s. And there's one other thing at the end we got to talk about, but I forgot exactly what it was from the beginning. Hopefully, Coop, you did remember. But if not, we'll come back to it at some capacity. But let's go into this, Coop. Schedule-wise, with us having 13 days away, it's time to look at what these games truly are going to look like. And every time I look at the schedule, I try to remind myself of who plays who before us and how that can truly affect us going up against each other, right? You want to make sure that you align that properly because you need context in all these conversations. So here's the schedule. I'm looking at this, Coop. Last Saturday of August, the first Saturday of week 1, Illinois State comes to the crib. 35.5-point favorites right now is the spread. We should finish that bad boy up. Win by 40. I'm thinking we have to hang half a hundy in that game for me to feel anything about the rest of the season. Like I would say that, that game doesn't matter as much. It's really Michigan. Nah, I need half a hundy in this game. What do you think?
I'm
Talk
with
me
you.
off the ledge.
My number, because my number it's going to be 45. Okay. You got to score 45 or more. Listen, you also have to give up like 13 or less. So if that game ends up at 45-13, I think that does what that game is going to be what you kind of need it to be. And if you don't, I don't want anybody to point towards Temple last year because the defense took the ball away 6 times. And, I think that we scored once on defense. And then I'm pretty sure we had him plus territory 2 other times. And even Jackson Arnold couldn't mess that up. I say that, but he did so many other times. But I digress. So what's going to happen here is it is, all right, offensive line, this is who you got out in front of him. Go do what you're going to do. I think on defense, you're going to have a lot of mixtures of guys in and out. So against, I think that even like the second or even third series of the game, you're going to see, 2s out there because, again, it's not like you have starters and then a huge gap and then your backups. Like you're going to have guys that are number 2 on the roster, and they're going to demand and command playing time at a starter level. And so we're going to be rolling some people in, and I think that the Final Four at the end of the second half or first half and the beginning of the first half, that's where Venables is going to, be like when Ivan Drago's, manager goes, goes crazy, like kill him now. And I think that that's what's going to happen. And then, you just continue to stockpile those up. But I see what you're saying. So, if this the game went exactly how I would want, I would say 55-0 would be a perfect score for me for that one. They are a very good FCS team, but if this team really is the best defensive, line in the SEC, these guys will never go against something like that for the rest of their career, and what they're going to see against OU's defensive line. So, I mean, I see where you're saying, like, man, we got to at least hang half 100. I would say your worst case scenario is something like, 48-3. But this is a game to where the fans are due some fireworks, and I'd like to see some fireworks.
I'll take 40. I'll take 45-0.
You like
Easy. Yeah. If you get a shutout, changes everything in my mindset. For me, I'm half 100 at minimum is where I'm at. I'm thinking half 100 is what I want, but if you don't allow a score, because it was a great comment in here that was mentioned a minute ago, was it said Oklahoma needs to be able to score at will, and that is exactly what I think about that game. Is we need to show that. There it is. Boomer 129 said need to be able to score at will. That's what I need to see, especially early. Then outside of that, if you just shut them down and run it down and throw nonstop and burn the clock, cool. Get out of there healthy is what's critical, because you're going to head right into the Michigan game literally the next week. Coach Dent, shout out to him pulling up. He's saying put money on your 9-3. Ole Miss struggling, Tennessee struggling, 10-2 is not a stretch at all. I'm going to reach you on that. And Mr. Hutton, good to see you.
Yes, sir.
Defense is going to score again against Auburn and Miz. That's be beautiful. So for me, I'll go ahead and I'm going to say 56-3 if we don't allow a score, 45-0 in that one. Michigan's really the one. Chip Lindsey's the new OC. You got a true freshman quarterback. A lot of moving parts in that game. A lot of moving parts. So if I'm going to go ahead and jump out on a limb, Coop, I think Oklahoma wins that one like 35-10 or 25-10, in that range. I think we will give up a score. Michigan's just going to run nonstop, and at some point they'll break loose. But I think 35-10 is my number. What about you?
Core truths, Jay, for the rest of this schedule that I can count on. The injury repeat is just a mathematical unlikelihood. The defensive line that we have is going to be better. The offensive line that we have is going to be better. The quarterback is going to be better, and every single team on this schedule is weaker than they were last year. And that's the basis on where I go with this. Chip Lindsey was a guy who has been at North Carolina the past couple of years. He is trying to go away from that power football. Now, I will say that Omarion Hampton, was a high-round draft pick. This was a dude who was one of the best running backs in the draft. North Carolina's been that way for the past couple of years. Their quarterback play has not been terrific. I believe that their quarterback, had somewhere in the 2,000 yards passing last year, like 2,500, 2,700, something like that. You bring a freshman to the crib. I've got written down 38-10. I got 38-10. I don't see Michigan being able to do enough. Anytime a Big Ten power football running team decides, hey, let's go ahead and try the spread out, or anything close to the spread, it always goes sideways. And I think that Underwood will eventually be a good quarterback. I don't know if I like that situation that they have with the Chip Lindsey hire. I don't know if I really feel like that's a good feel. Their interior offensive line is going to be back. Their tackles are still kind of in limbo. A name that everybody's going to recognize, Andrew Babalola, was one of the 5-star kids. It was down between us, Michigan, and Stanford. He's fighting to potentially be a starter over an incumbent starter right now. And so that tells me, at this point in time, you have some flux at the offensive tackle position. You don't want to have flux in the offensive tackle position on the road against the Brent Venables defense, against our Mason Thomas, against all these guys with a freshman quarterback back there. And then they bring over Justice Haynes from Alabama, who averaged right around 5 yards a carry last year. Again, that was kind of a different deal. But, man, and no, Ben, I'm not underestimating Michigan's defense. They lost their best defensive back. They lost 2 first-round defensive linemen. That's not going to be the same group. You're relying on guys to step up and be something and be more than they're potentially ready for in week 2. And here's another damn thing, Jay. It is 75 degrees in Ann Arbor, Michigan right now.
It's beautiful.
It's going to be 100 on the field week 2.
It really is. It's going to be hot.
So they're going to come down here, and there's so much room for let's just get the hell out of here. And I think that if Michigan wants to win that game, they're going to want to come in here and control the ball and take minimal risks. I think that plays into Brent Venables super, super well. 38-10.
I think that's something. 38-10. I can see that. I'm sign me up for the aggression. Let them know. Let them know what that's supposed to look like. How they lose and stuff. How everything gone. You're right. I can't even argue with that. That's a good one. Okay. Next game up, we got Temple. Oklahoma travels to Temple. Now, for the uninitiated, because I've literally had people ask me this question on a couple of occasions. It always cracks me up. They're like, what the heck is Oklahoma doing traveling to Temple? Well, this was set up literally years ago.
6-7 years ago?
Yeah. A long time ago was when this was established. And because of that, they we decided to do a home and home instead of doing the home both home and ours, and we pay them. No, we're going up to the Philly. So it's going to be a fun game. Temple is, I went and looked at, let me see, Kelly Ford put up all of his teams. We'll just use him for today because he's right here on the socials. And Temple is 124th in the country on his list as far as a power rating. So the spread should be really high, especially if Oklahoma does do what you said they're going to do against Michigan. If the Sooners do that, spread's going to be high. Oklahoma should blow them out. I'm expecting that one to be just like it was last year, 50, but we shouldn't give up a score. I would like us to not give up a score in that game.
They actually set this up on my birthday, July 7th, 2016.
Sheesh.
So 9 years ago. There's ESPN. There's ESPN article on July 6th, so day before. But that's not make it about me. But
and that was in 2016.
In 2016,
Matt Rule was still there.
Yeah.
Matt Rule was the coach. They went 10-3 that year. I've mentioned that before, but people didn't believe me. No, Matt Rule was the head coach there when they put this on the schedule. He took the job. He left there and went to Baylor afterwards. Yeah. That's how long ago it was. It was 9 years ago. So that's the reason why we're traveling up there. But anyway, what's your prediction on this one?
Pain. I will say this. Temple did end with a top, I want to say it was top 25 defense last year. So when we saw just the inability on third down, this team came in and they shut down what are we, 0 for 9 on third down conversions with the starters against Temple. We turned their offense over quite a bit. But it was a solid butt kicking. But this team is not going to be spectacular. I think you go on the road, especially with Auburn coming back. This is a game that you want to come back 42-3. That's a pretty safe bet right there. What did they score, 7 last year?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Or they now I will say they 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 were in field goal range like 3 or 4 times and decided to go for it on 4th down. And I think they missed a field goal. But I still remember us sitting in that game too. And, winning by 40 and still pissed off. So that was the epitome of Oklahoma football, right? But you're going to get away. You're going to go do this thing. You don't have very many true road games. Sorry, choking me up. You don't have very many true road games this year, and so get some young kids out on the road. Let them have some fun. They're playing at Lincoln Financial or whatever the Philly Stadium's name is, right? Because we're not playing it at Temple.
No, they're playing at the big stadium because they know that that's exactly where you need to go play at.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure Temple Stadium is probably like a Oklahoma State, like 40,000 or something like that.
Something like that. All right. Yeah. Next up, most important one. First, SEC conference game, Auburn. Auburn. Of course, you all know we won the game last year due to a beautiful Kip 6. We get them to come to the crib. Jackson Arnold makes his return to Norman. And so, of course, everybody's kind of curious to exactly how that's going to go. But the good thing for us is winning 27-21 on the road at Jordan-Hare, the one that everyone says that it's so hard to play at. Oklahoma pulled it out. How you feeling about the Sooners in this one? I'm going to tell you this one straight up. I think we cook them. I think if Jackson Arnold's the starting quarterback, and after all the stuff we're seeing in practice and the film that's coming out and everyone's quote-unquote concern, I think that we're going to throw enough different defensive fronts that could rattle the whole situation there. I saw Eric Singleton is probably down for a little bit. Hopefully he's back by week 1, but that doesn't sound good at all. Thigh bruise makes me think about, I think somebody else mentioned it too, so it makes me think about the Deion Burks injury he dealt with last year.
Yeah.
He could be done for a bit. So to me, I'm going to go ahead and say Oklahoma wins this one, and I actually think that we cover the spread in this game, which I think let me go see what the spread is real quick. In that game, I think that spread was posted. I think it was posted. I'm not going to say it guaranteed. Let's see. What weekend is that game?
That would be week
13th. The 13th. Let's see. The 13th. Did they post that spread? They had the spread up at one point. They took it down. Don't see our spread up there at all for that one. The Michigan game, though, we're 2.5-point favorites. I say that we win that game by a touchdown. Give me 27-20.
Jay, I don't think it's going to be close.
I'm not mad. I'm not even going to knock you for feeling like it's going to be a lot further out. Go ahead.
All right. So the difference when some of these guys, when they had any success on offense last year, it was a combination of, really just calling. They called great plays at great times that went right into, basically whatever the play call for Venables was there was a couple plays that would beat it, and they nailed it. The guys were not doing good, in the zone coverage. You got guys who were looking back in the backfield, Billy Bowman, and I will also say this is you got, Des Malone, you had Woody, and another guy, I can't remember his name, he's gone now too, Kenai Walker.
Yeah.
Those guys were the victims of these touchdowns. As much of a head case as Peyton Thorne was, I'm just saying their offensive line is struggling in camp. And we all saw the clip. It doesn't matter if folks are taking it down. It doesn't matter at all. But if Jackson Arnold can't throw the ball with no rush at him in practice, how in the hell come on. Like, it's Jackson Arnold. Guys, we saw this. Like, the only game that he was able to actually go out and look like a functional quarterback, he was a running back. Like, it is what it is. Like, we saw the Tennessee game. We were there at the Tennessee game. That you put pressure on him, and it's just not gonna work. I mean, I see Jackson Arnold either turning the ball over and giving us the ball in plus territory more than once. A couple things are going to have to happen for it not to be a blowout. Number one is Hugh Freeze is going to have to not be Hugh Freeze anymore. He's going to have a cool, calm demeanor. He's going to have to be able to just take the air out of the ball and minimize any type of anything. And he's not going to do that. That is not who he is, and that's not what he is. And every single time that he gets the cojones to drop one of the quarterbacks back and try to go deep, if it goes south, his demeanor is going to get even worse. I mean, this is another one to where, I mean, I'm just calling it. I think that there's a good chance that this is an SEC shutout. I think that there's a chance that you have this team so twisted up, you end up with like a 35-0.
Really?
I'm calling 3 shutouts in this year. And this is one, I mean, and just so that everybody's like, well, yeah, Coop's full of hopium and out of his damn mind. Guys, we took most of the guys, our moderators, we on Friday night went through and we did our best attempt at a Doom pod. How could this thing go absolutely sideways? And this is 7 different dudes trying to come up with reasons why this season's going to be crap. And Jay,
yeah.
What was the synopsis that we shared with you? The dooming was not easy. It just was not easy.
The struggle was real.
We are now seeing multiple times that Jackson Arnold, who has a fragile and fractured psyche, his head coach has either allowed or gone off on him publicly. How the hell is that going to work out when the 86,000 are going against Jackson Arnold?
That was kind of the wild thing to me, is to see the way that coaches was losing his mind on him. Like, I was a little concerned. I'm like, yeah, I've seen others say, well, that's just practice. Oh, okay. I totally understand the thought process that, yeah, that's just practice. That's what happens in practice. Cool. But should that happen in practice is like literally the only question I have. Like,
you can't watch Caleb Williams throw a hissy fit after missing squares and be like, you got to have more composure than that, and he needs to be held to a higher standard because he's a starting quarterback, and then be okay with Hugh Freeze doing that. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, it's just,
yeah, it's pretty asinine.
And I'll say this, Jay, Deuce Knight hasn't taken it from him yet, and Deuce Knight, he's not that ready. Deuce Knight coming into OU week 4 after taking the job away, it's not going to – that ain't going to happen. He's not going to come be Superman. So
I can see
it does not matter. It does not matter who the quarterback is, because you're going to end. We'll see both of them that day.
I think the big question I have about Auburn is their run game. Who's going to be there? They don't have Hunter, which we knew Hunter was that dude. Their run game isn't bad, but we don't have the guy, the name for me to say, oh, okay. And Auburn typically always has a good running back. But is Damari going to be that dude? Jeremiah Cobb? I mean, I know got Darrell Robinson from the portal. Who's going to be the guy that we say, oh, that's the running back that's going to take over? I don't see it. I don't see a shutout. I don't see them. I see them scoring just because it's SEC play. Granted, I don't know how good their SEC play is, but I do see them scoring. I see them actually scoring some points. But bye week. All right, who wins the bye week? First one. I'm a little concerned.
The bye week's going to be won by the ice bath.
Yeah, I'm kind of concerned a little bit about the bye week itself. Kidding, guys. I'm kidding. But I do think that I think that overall it's going to be a good bye week. So
it's a good setup because you get through your at this point you're looking at 4-0. You now get to reset yourself for that next 5-game stretch.
Right.
And that next 5-game stretch is going to be, or I guess that would be, it's a kind of a 6-game stretch. But I mean, with Kent State there, it is what it is, right? But what's your hope here is that you get yourself ready. You know what your line assignments are going to be. You know what the offensive line is looking like. Anybody who needs a few days for recovery, they're going to have that. We talked about the schedule. I think the schedule setup is set up perfectly. And if you want some more hopium, it's pretty much the same setup as we had in the year 2000, as far as home, away, home, away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of that. I think that's the thing that makes you feel comfortable, let's put it that way, is you've got a lot of, as you mentioned, the home away setup is really good in this circumstance. So we'll see how that looks. Okay. Kent State coming to the crib again. This is probably the best part about Oklahoma's schedule. Pull that back up. Is where all of these buys and these games are set. Of course, the road game to Temple is not optimal to be right before Temple. I mean, right before Auburn. But it's still a game that you should go out there and win soundly. Your goal is to get out healthy so you can head into that Auburn game properly. But then you get the bye week, and yes, you're 100% correct, Edward. I'm thinking the bye week wins this one. We're just going to lay down and be down for a bit. But then you roll from Kent State, which I'm saying similar score as Temple, 50-something to maybe 3. I think we should goose egg them again. If this defense is going to plan on finishing top 5 in the country, we need to goose egg all 3 of those main non-con games, and then we need to hold Michigan to as low points as 10 points is where we got to hold Michigan. Auburn at 20 doesn't, to me, like I said, I said 20. You say goose egg. I say 20 because I think that their offense is still going to be good enough. But yeah, we've got those games are important to goose egg if you want that defensive scoring to be up. What you got for Kent State, and then we'll move on to the most important one out of this first 6-game stretch.
I mean, Kent State's one that you just need to get in. You need to get your wins. You're probably going to want to, throw some fireworks in there early. Go for your explosive plays. See what you're doing. Put some stuff on film also. You may see just plain and simple. This game should be somewhere in the high 50s to somewhere 10 or below. Kent State was one of the worst teams in college football year in and year out.
Yep, and they fired their coach just like Temple did. So, hence why I'm saying these games should be ginormous blowouts. They don't have coaches anymore that at least you know about. They fired everybody specifically because they were that awful. And to me, that kind of answers a lot of those questions of how good can this team be. Not really that good. They fired their coaches. That kind of simplifies things in my personal opinion. So I don't expect that to be a quote unquote challenge because of the fact that, like I said, their coach has been fired and they're starting from scratch. And like you said, they've been really bad over the years, like real bad over the years. All right. Yeah. Game to go into, should blow out Kent State, be done. Texas. Whew. Coming into that one, what makes that game the most intriguing is where Texas could potentially be when we face each other. So, Coop, when you look at the schedule for the Longhorns, you got Of course, open the season Ohio State. That tells us a lot about what things are going to be. It really tells us everything about their offense at that point. That's going to give you a major indicator. Yeah. That Florida game the week before. We don't know what Lagway is going to be, but that game is going to tell us a lot as well. Plus, they're going on the road to the Swamp before traveling back for OU Texas. When you look at this game, everybody in the comments are losing their mind. What do you think?
Again, what this is going to be a tough one for who will Texas be by the time they get here. Obviously Ohio State, they lost a lot. They lost their offensive coordinator. They lost their defensive coordinator. You're moving on to Julian Sayin. We know that they're going to have wide receivers. We know that they're going to have, some of the bigger leadership guys back on defense. And so I agree with you on that Ohio State game is, I don't know. Like, do we learn something in week 1 that is going to help us in week 6 about the Texas Longhorns at this point? They don't play anything else except for Florida. And even with Florida, what is Florida going to be on October 4th? Because they're being really, really hyped up too based off of DJ Lagway. And, I tell you what, the Texas versus Florida game is all about projections when it comes to both these quarterbacks because neither of these guys have shown out in a manner that would let you go, that's who they're going to be. Arch got, Southern Louisiana, Monroe, Mississippi State. The team that, he got to go in there and go do some stuff against Georgia, it didn't look the same. DJ Lagway, he had an up and down year. He's got a bevy of injuries. So what is Texas going to be? Like, again, what I say that I know are the solid pieces of the argument for Texas in 24 or in 25 versus Oklahoma in 25 is both of the defenses are going to be the best units on the field. So that game is going to be about who on the offensive side can make the most plays. And I don't want to hear about, I don't want to hear about anything in the past because that has nothing to do with anything. It really has nothing to do with anything. Not at all. Because most of those guys, neither of those guys, most of those guys aren't on the team. Again, you've got it's a meme-worthy receiver. An injury log for multiple years, and so it's going to be about the offense. And so you got to figure out, okay, so are we going to take which offense do you feel more comfortable with? Oklahoma right now, I feel super confident in the 10 deep, and it's a mixture of transfers with great experience. With incumbents with great experience and some success towards the end of last year. These guys are actually healthy. And then you're going to have the mix in with some younger offensive line, some 5-star offensive linemen, which are trying to take folks' jobs. On the other side, Texas was replacing a lot on the offensive side too. It is going to have to be a big push by their offensive line to stay healthy because their depth has already taken a few hits. And they're not like come back at some point in the year hits. And so if I have this correct, is you're going to have the team who can go in and run the ball and suck the defense in and get them focused. The team that can do that is going to be the one that has the more capabilities for, more explosive plays. And I will say this, true. Asterisks, whether, I know you guys in the chat who want to get crazy, you have not be a full functioning OU team since 2018. You got us in the year, and then we got you back at the championship game. So I'm just saying, I don't see it happening this year. This is a game to where I'm going something along the lines of maybe like a 32-25 Oklahoma.
32-25. Interesting. Okay. I have the game once again closer. I think it's going to be similar to 23. Most of the game, Oklahoma dominates. Texas makes a comeback, stays close. I don't think either team scores over 20 in that game. But I can go with, I'll go 17-10. I think Oklahoma wins that one. I think it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be a dogfight throughout this game. It could be even like 17-14. It could be 14-10. Like, I think everybody stays in that single digit, in that 10 range, both teams, because I think both defenses are going to be really good, like really good. I think I think Oklahoma, to me, gets the edge on offense. More so because I'm going to take the experience of Arbuckle and Mateer coming in as like not being seen yet together here with the changes of players to where things are going to be fun. So give me that 17-10, 17-14, 14-10-ish ranges. But I think Oklahoma easily covers the spread. Easily. All right, next game up on here. This is when things start to get squirrely. South Carolina on the road, literally right afterwards. Like, you get the Texas game at the neutral site, and then you travel to South Carolina. And South Carolina, in the most interesting of manners, they once again are another opponent of ours that schedule-wise ain't very favorable in that capacity. We go to South Carolina after playing Texas. They come back home after playing LSU.
At LSU.
LSU. They go to Death Valley. Then they come and they see us. Coop, I'm keeping a buck, man. I think depth-wise, we will be better than South Carolina going into that game. I give us the win in a very close one on the road. Brent Venables finally gets a second signature road win that's critical for his resume because everybody has been doubting him. I think we pull out that W. Give me us over South Carolina. And another close one. And this is the game that Tate Sandell has to save us with a field goal late to give us the lead, and then the defense shuts it down. I'm going to say 23-20 or 23-21, right around there.
This is one that I had. This was one of the built-in or the losses. If I go 10-2, I kind of have to have it that way. And then the more and more I looked at it, I looked more and more at their depth and what they lost. Just all in all, I see again the LSU and guys. I mean, I'll say that a lot of our schedule, if LSU is a good team, we play teams after they play LSU the week before, I think 2 or 3 times. So
yeah.
So, I mean, it's crazy that a lot of people get LSU, Oklahoma back-to-back weeks. But I'll say this is
really weird.
It's like
it's so weird.
If OU goes out and loses that game, put it this way, if OU loses to Texas, we're not losing that game. OU's record does not matter. The week after Texas is always just absolutely it's just been terrific. But it's an 11 o'clock game. I don't think that the teeth of the crowd are going to be able to be exactly what they would like to be. So I think that this is going to be a spread cover. I'm going to lean at, kind of with what you're saying. Maybe like a 24-21 type of a game on the road, kick a field goal to end it at the end. So I've kind of come the other way because, again, they got to go to Death Valley the week before, and man, they just lost way too much. And the receiving core was rough last year. When it wasn't Sellers, it was Sanders, and Sanders is gone. So I just have a feeling that South Carolina is going to take a pretty decent step back.
Interesting. I'm more curious to how South Carolina looks without Rocket Sanders. I think that was the one thing that I was really curious. I think defensively they'll be okay. Defensive line, I think that they've done a good job just in recruiting on the defensive line to where they've got a lot of seniors next to Dylan Stewart. Then they got Brownlow Dindy from A&M if he hits his potential, and then Desmond Zulu. So I think and they got a lot of old veterans in the back, a lot of juniors, transfer juniors, redshirt juniors, redshirt seniors. So they've got a lot of older players on the defensive line. We just don't know what they look like. Now Dylan Stewart, of course, is a monster by himself. So we the curiosity is really what that defensive line is going to turn up to be later. I mean, they lost a elite corner into the draft, but their secondary is still pretty veteran. All players that are recruited there, juniors and seniors. So the secondary is going to be fun. They added a transfer in Brandon Sissy. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the offense looked like to me. Sellers with I don't know if Razul Faison is even going to play yet. We're still waiting to hear the judgment from the NCAA, in which the way things are going in his life, he may not even get a chance to. He may not play. So it's probably going to be the grad transfer, was that Oscar Attaway or Isaiah Gustav, who came from Colorado. That's probably who they're going to end up having in the backfield. And Gustav is actually pretty solid. But I'm curious to see how he works in the system. Lenore Sellers is going to show us who his top wide receiver is going to be. We've been waiting for Nick Harbor to show up. Is he going to be that dude? So if I'm with you, I think that we end up winning that game on the road. And like I said, I think it's going to be a close one, similar to what we did at Auburn, but a little bit closer. I think that's where the upset comes in. Next up is Ole Miss. And this Ole Miss one is interesting, Coop. Ole Miss coming before us. They travel to Georgia. Mm-hmm. So Washington State comes to their crib. Cool, post-bye week. After they play LSU, they got a bye week. They play Washington State at the crib. They travel to Georgia. And then they travel to us. Most of the people that I know that cover Ole Miss have actually penciled that game as an L. Mainly because of the post-Georgia game, the new young quarterback. They're wanting to see how that thing turns out. They think that Lane's going to figure it out. But a lot of people I know with Ole Miss have penciled that one as a loss. I do as well. I think we get revenge in that game. I think we take the lead at the half, and we don't actually give it up this time. We actually win it. I think we take that one by I'd say 10 points. I'll say 30. I say either 20-10 or 30-10. I think it's going to be a double-digit win in that one.
So, I mean, yeah, you look at last year. I mean, Jacob Sexton was, having his best game as an OU offensive lineman.
He really was.
He was doing so well, and the confidence was there. That crew we were running. I mean, it was good. We were running the ball, and again, Jackson Arnold took advantage of and was able to make some decent plays passing. And then he goes down, and then everything swung the wrong way. Logan Hallen came in first snaps and just kind of pretty much got abused the whole second half.
Yeah, it was brutal.
I'm with you on this one. I look at Ole Miss. They didn't have the massive splashes in the transfer portal that they had the previous 2 years.
Mm-mm.
Now, if I'm remembering correctly, I want to say that like 5 of the 6 people in the secondary are all transfers in either from the last year or this year.
So their entire secondary so far is projected
players.
to be transfer players.
Yeah. So this is mid-season, so at this point, like, you should be gelled as about as well as you're going to be. A lot of people don't realize this, but like Ole Miss last year was a really good defense, and then Jackson Dart and Trey Harris, and like that's what it was. Like that was the season. But Jackson Dart had to pull a rabbit out of the hat time after time after time after time, and that's kind of what made them who they were. This is a game to where I'm going to say, I don't know what the dynamic. I don't know if Ole Miss's offense is going to have that capability to be dynamic, to pull the rabbit out of the hat, to really leverage broken plays into big scores. Venables now has taken a run at this offense, and so he knows what Lane Kiffin's going to have. This is going to be a game to where I'm thinking that especially back at the crib, no matter what happens in October 11th, October 18th, fans are going to be happy to have the team back for the first time. And so it's going to be loud right before Halloween. Give me like an OU 31-21.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. All right. So we go from that game, hit the road. Jack, don't you come back no more, no more, no more, and no more. We head to Rocky Top, Knoxville, Tennessee, for our second road game this season in conference, and to me, the one at the most inopportune time. For us, we ride against Tennessee after Tennessee plays not only the third Saturday in October against Alabama, but also a road game against Kentucky, who has been infamous. A lot of people in SEC will tell you they just beat up on you. So back-to-back road games for them. We get road home, and then we're back on the road. It is the last game of our 5, Tennessee's last game in their 4 straight. So it's going to be an interesting one in this game. The questions around Tennessee still hinge on twofold. One, who's going to be the starting quarterback? Because, yes, I'm hearing that it's going to be, I think Aguilar's trending well. Merklinger is supposedly putting up some good stuff, and the same thing with George McIntyre, the true freshman. I have the question of who is going to be the running back for this team. Is it going to be Deshaun Bishop? Is it going to be Star Thomas? And that, to me, tells me a lot more about Tennessee than anything else. Their right tackle is going to be a true freshman. David Sanders is going to be their starter. Their other backup right tackle transferred to Colorado. He's going to be on their offensive line because David Sanders walked in the door, and that kid's really good.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting on the right side. Good thing he's a right tackle to start because, having a true freshman and you can see the players come in his direction makes it a little bit more fun. This game, I think Oklahoma wins it as well. I think this is where we continue along some streaks of wins. Give me Oklahoma over Tennessee on the road in dramatic fashion once again, 27-20.
Jay, give me our schedule here real quick because
right.
Before we started this off, I said the core truth portion of the injuries, it's just statistically not possible or mathematically not possible. Our defensive line is going to be better. Our offensive line is going to be better. Our QB is going to be better, and then the opposition is going to be weaker. This is one where Tennessee won with, they came into the house. They turned the ball over. We kept that offense in check. They got a 67-yard touchdown with the Thornton. Kenai Walker on coverage. Billy Bowman gets his eyes caught in the back of the field, and which Billy Bowman did about 3 different times last year. And that was the one explosive play. But, we got to Nico, who was supposed to be it. We held the running game in check, And after they got that long touchdown, it was no longer about anything except for getting the hell out of Dodge alive. This year, listen, they're not going to have that at the running back. They lost pieces on the offensive line. Sanders at this point, Sanders is going to probably be in his bag. Like, this is where he is going to be. You're no longer a freshman in November. Now you've had your time to go. But they're dealing with the wide receiver injuries. I mean, at one point they were out there having defensive backs run around at wide receiver. Jay, you know that we are really, really close with the Tennessee program for multiple different reasons. But again, I think Heupel will keep this team in check. I mean, they were down to 5 scholarship wide receivers just a few days ago that were healthy. And
so much
if
pain.
anybody knows what that feels like, that's us, right? And so, but again, you don't have Nico. You can't decide on who the starter's going to be. Whether that's gamesmanship or not, I don't know if that's a cool play for a coach to do, just because who do you line up behind? If you're the players, who's the leader? It just doesn't feel good. This is one where I think that you go on the road. It's probably tight for most of the game, and then it's probably like a fourth quarter. I could see this like us pressing at the end of the third quarter. You go up by 10, early in the fourth quarter. You get one more score at some point with a 13-point win. So, that's where I'm going. Maybe like you said, I'm going to like 27-14. Going on the road. I try to look at could you lose that game. Man, it just looks like Tennessee, had a lot of fool's gold last year, and that was their shot. And obviously when the quarterback stuff starts happening, it's rough.
Yeah, I'm wondering what for me, it's still the dynamics around, like you said. I mean, injured wide receivers. You're playing a lot of the young players. Mike Matthews is going to be starting. Even and they had like the little NIL thing with him before the season started. It's just things are weird there. Hopefully,
also, and then a driving incident too with Brazel. So
yeah.
It just seems like that's a team to where if things start spiraling at some point throughout the season, I'll feel bad for Josh, because I think that it's going to be tough.
What do you think about Lance Hurd? How do you think Lance Hurd plays this year? You think that he bounces back from last season? I don't think he was bad last year, but he wasn't immediately great. Let's put it that way.
I mean, sometimes when a lot of the pressure's not on you, then yeah, potentially. That's a big opportunity for him. We just heard way too much about him being dominant in their preseason camp, and then he was kind of goat. He was not the good goat, the bad goat for most of the season.
Yeah, you could tell that he had a lot of work that needed to be done. But I think he gets better. Because his run blocking was not good last year, like at all. But the question is going to be, is he going to be able to bounce back?
Maybe.
Into that one. So that's what I'm really curious about is the bounce back there. So I guess you could say we'll find out soon enough, right? All right. Well, Tennessee is done. Next up is the bye week. Not going to lie, a little concerned about this bye week, man. That late in the season, 3 games afterwards with 1 road, 2 home. A little nervous. Not going to lie. I think we pull it out, though. I think we pull it out in the bye week. What about you?
So on November 15th, we got to go to Alabama. I think that this, again, the bye weeks, I love where both of these are set up. You get your
perfect spots. They are in perfect spots.
You get your run and then you get a break right before kind of the meat of the schedule, and then you get a bye to kind of load yourself up one more time. And I'm just going to say, if this was last year, this 3-game stretch would be tougher than that 5-game stretch, but I just don't expect a lot out of Missouri this year. And so now this is on November 8th. A lot of teams are going to be playing. You're going to be looking at everything. And here's another team. We're about to get Alabama right after playing LSU.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But, yeah. The 8th is going to be a fun weekend.
That's a fun weekend. But now, I mean, if this team is where we're thinking here at this point, now you're lining stuff up. Now at this point, I think you could go 1-2 and you're in the playoff. I think that you can't go 0-3. That's not going to serve people right. But if you come into this bye week with 1 loss or 0 losses, you've got everything to play for out in front of you. Absolutely nothing is off the table at that point.
It isn't. There's nothing off the table. All right. We go into that next game. Bama on the road in Tuscaloosa. That one's going to be an interesting one. As you said, this is the second time this season that we play a team after they play LSU. Whoo, buddy. Especially with the expectation LSU's going to have a really good defense. The good thing for Alabama is it's back-to-back home game, so it's not a travel for them. But yeah, the LSU beat up on teams before you play them could be a helpful one. Now, I mean, last year, I'm not gonna lie, I said that when we played Bama, I just want everybody to have fun. And we went out there and we beat the dog out of those boys. We really did. And all my Bama boys were laughing at me like, dog, don't say that. Don't say just have fun. I'm like, man, look, our offense is non-existent. I don't know what the heck we're going to do in this game. All I know is I'm just hoping that we do anything possible to make it respectable because it's on national television. And then what happened? We beat the dog out of them. That was the game where you had the healthiest version of your offensive line. That one. The entire game. Ole Miss, you had it, and then Sexton got hurt at halftime. You were up at the half. I think it was 8 total games in the season. We were up at the half last year. Should have finished, and you could have finished with possibly 9 wins if you just had the offense be a little bit more competent. The defense literally won all the games. This year, I feel like the offense is going to be at another level, and I think the defense is going to be even better. This game is going to be tough because Bama's going to be coming for blood. This game has been circled on their schedule, period. I don't care what nobody says. They want revenge in this game. And Kellen DeBoer wants revenge in this game. It's in Tuscaloosa. I think this is where things get tough. I think we drop this game. I think we dropped this game in a very close one. I know a lot of people aren't, quote unquote, as high on Alabama. I like their offensive line still. Now, I do think that the big problem they have with their tackles is that they're very big and they don't move a lot. I mean, Caden Proctor's really good, but Caden Proctor
355 or something like that.
Yeah, he was getting worn out in that game. But he still had a good game. And I like Caden Proctor a lot. And I think he's gotten refined even more. I don't think that he's I'm not saying that he's bad in any stretch.
Yeah.
That just was not that good. That was not a good game for him at all. It was bad. That game was so bad for him. But I think they'll be prepared and ready to go in that game. And it's going to be a challenge. I think they do overcome. I think they end up finishing. Well, Jam Miller should be back by then, I guess. He's got a broken collarbone. But I don't want to see Richard Young.
By Georgia. They said by Georgia. So that's 4 or 5 weeks earlier. Yeah,
that's a few weeks early. I don't want to see Richard Young. I think he's going to be good. He's a redshirt sophomore. He hasn't played much. They've had a lot of good backs there. Like I said, overall, I like their line. The wide receiver room is solid. I love I love Bernard, and they getting Horton from Miami, which was a huge pickup to add with Ryan Williams. You know, I didn't know if you knew this, Coop, but he was only 17 years old when he was playing last year. It's crazy they had a 17-year-old on the field.
Never heard
kind of
that.
wild, right? Bananas that they did that to themselves. But I like, and so Ty Simpson's going to win it. Ty Simpson was a former 5-star. I know that everybody's wondering what he's going to be, but he wasn't as athletic as Jalen Milroe, who was winning a lot of games, so it's kind of hard to take him out. But I think Ty Simpson fits better in what DeBoer and them's going to do. I think their defense is going to remain stout. I think it's another close one. I think that this is the one that we fall. I think that it's probably 21-17 is what I'm going with Alabama. And that's true, Sooner Cowboy. Richard Young does fumble quite often.
Yeah, and man, I'll be open and honest about when I've had OU at 10-2. It kind of felt like we could beat any of the teams. I mean, every single team on the schedule.
Yep.
It was going to be. There's a game where you don't just have everything you have, or a game that you're playing well, but that team is just lit for the week. I really feel like the LSU, OU, back to back for Alabama is a big deal, and they're going to have those two games. This is going to be for seeding for the conference, and they've got some revenge on the mind.
They do.
I think that this is probably the first time that you go on the road this season and you're actually in a truly hostile because you've got Michigan at home, you've got Auburn at home, you got the 50-50 split in Dallas, South Carolina is going to be at 11 a.m. And so this is the one to where I can see this game being 2:30 or later, potentially the primetime game. And I just think that eventually the road woes, you're not going to get them all. And this is just set up to where it's going to be. This doesn't feel like a good one for me. I do have lots of questions about Bama. You're leaning on Richard Young, like you just mentioned. He has the fumbles. Kalen DeBoer is a great coach, but I cannot shake the fact that the best he has ever been, he had an NFL quarterback, 3 NFL wide receivers, an NFL running back, a Joe Moore offensive line, and he still couldn't get it done. Yep. Again, that was Michigan the cheating year, but it wasn't necessarily a tight game. So I do have lots of questions about Alabama. I just think too much lines up wrong, and this is one where you might get down, and it may be hard to kind of find the gumption inside to just make it happen.
Yeah, that's true. And Chuck, you're right. We said this about Auburn. We did. We had questions in that game. You're right. But it also was a very different situation of the way that the year was going there. But guess what? We won it. We could go in and Bama and win that game. I don't see us being undefeated all the way through there. I think that there will be at least one stumble in between there. It's just natural that you would do that in a strong conference. But I think that that's the one where I think that's the first, to me, that's the first L, and it's the one on the road. All right, next one though, Coop. Missouri comes to the house. 11 o'clock kickoff for that game. We're going to beat them by 40 on purpose.
Yeah, I promise you, there's a damn reason why Eli Drinkowitz went all of a sudden super nice guy about Bob Stoops the other day, and that was because he knew that what was coming. There's a lot of listen, Missouri. Pate said it the best. Ole Miss, Tennessee, Auburn, South Carolina, Missouri. Last year was the best that they've been in recent program history. And a lot of them feel like it might be a launching board for where they're at. Ole Miss literally is a game that was fumbled away.
Literally, fumbled away. In a literal term.
In the literal term. You don't have You don't have Brady Cook anymore. You don't have Luther Burden. You don't have any of those cats. You bring in a lot of newness. This is one to where if I am Brent Venables isn't going to have to say much. I think they're going to around that week, especially if you're coming off of a loss to Alabama. This game is in a microcosm of itself. Everybody knows what's going on. When they're talking about the bye week, they're going to say Missouri, and everybody's going to see what the coaching staff's saying. But you're want to hand that ass to him to where he is just running HB dive to end the game fast after halftime. Let's just please get out of here.
You're funny, Chuck. Now it's not even that. It's really it's. I feel like I said, the Bama game, I think that they're going to have our name. But this one, look, Ahmad Hardy may end up being one of the top 3 running backs in the SEC. I think he's going to be really good. And I really do think that Missouri's going to lean heavy on the run game. That's going to be their focal point. I have questions around the wide receiver room. I think Marquise Johnson could be something. I remember him as a recruit. I like him. The offensive line, we'll see how the line gels. Their line is very veteran. They added a couple of transfers. So they got old people there. A few transfers. Actually, majority of the line is transfers, except for their center, Connor Tullison. So it's all transfers on the line, and we'll see what that looks like. Don't even know who the quarterback is, though. It's between Bo Pribula as well as Sam Horn. And it sounds like it's actually a battle. We don't know who's going to win. It doesn't seem like Bo is separating himself at all.
If you guys in our chat, I know how you feel about weekly captains. But what about naming your 2 guys fighting for quarterback co-captains for the team? That's what Missouri just did today. They're both going to be captains.
They did that today?
They did it today. They are naming the starter and the backup, whichever way that falls, co-captains.
Oh, God. I'm not a fan of that at all.
Caden Green is moving all over the place. Like, he's been inside at guard, and then now all of a sudden they're like kind of going to bumping him out to the outside and let him play tackle. And now there's also podcasters, not Oklahoma folks, saying, Missouri shouldn't be in the SEC. There was somebody else who popped in, and was it? There was somebody that popped in on one of the bigger ones and said, Missouri's not an SEC stadium, making fun of the rocks and stuff like that. Like, listen, man, you had
for a while.
You had your little run that was cute and all, but this is an ass whooping.
We should go in there and we should blast them. We for real should. That is my expectation for Oklahoma in this game, is that this is a destructive game of destruction and lots of destruction on destruction. We're going to go in there with a purpose. We should have did it last year. This year, competent offense, we should be able to. So I'm high on that one. Missouri plays Mississippi State before us, so we'll see how Lebby's doing going up to this point. He may actually have them balling. Last game of the season, though. Go Tigers. LSU Tigers come to Norman. First time, I think, ever that they've been to Norman. Every time we played them has either been a Death Valley or bowl game. Has not been a home-and-home series, I do not believe.
No, you're right. And I want to say that it was – I want to say that we've never played them at Death Valley until last year. I could be wrong, but we've only
played them 4 times ever. And it was all bowl games, it looks like. Let me see.
Now, it was like it was at their house because it was the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans.
Sugar Bowl twice. And then Atlanta at the Peach Bowl. And then we played at Death Valley. So this is our first time having a quote-unquote home-and-home or whatnot. And when I look at their schedule, they have a cupcake the week before us. They're playing Western Kentucky. So they're basically tuning up while we're playing Missouri in an SEC game, which is pretty awesome. But at the same time, this is what you do in the SEC, right? Your schedule's typically tough. They play Clemson. to start the season off. And so instead of having that additional cupcakes up there, they moved theirs right there before one of the, last games of the season. They play Arkansas at home. So they play Bama before we play Bama. And then, then they got Arkansas, Western Kentucky at the crib. And then Thanksgiving weekend, they pull up to Norman. I was listening to SEC Unfiltered, our boy Chris Phillips over there. Chopped it up, watching his view, and he thinks LSU goes 10-2 next season. He thinks that they walk into Norman 10-1 and lose. And dang it, I'm gonna agree with him. Think we pull out that win. That's the team that I was the most concerned about, bringing back so many players, but their offensive line, as good as the offensive line was last year, they still struggled in ways that they should not have struggled in. They should not have struggled in the run, and they kind of struggled in the run, even with that good. I mean, Caden Durham figured it out, but they struggled and they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
This year, the line is not as good as it was last year. Question's going to be how good they go. So I'm going to go ahead and say I've switched it up on my final selections of it. I say we win that one. And we're going to do FaceTime after this of why we picked that record. But, Coop, what do you think about the outcome of this game will be?
Well, Jay, I thought that you and I were both on the 10-2 island, and I thought I was going to pull a fast one on you and go to 11-1. But then you did it before I could do it. So, guys, there's something about the knee thing, and that came out. Nussmeier, you got Michael Van Buren as the backup, so they're not. It's not like if Nussmeier runs into issues, you're not going to have. You're not going to have a great quarterback, and so I don't want that to be focused, but I do want the focus to be around the offensive line. It has been consistently not good so far, and this is as of the practice season and as of team notes and looking through these things. When I'm talking about these teams, I'm not just pulling stuff out the backside. Like I look at the team notes for the other team. I'm watching these things. I'm trying to see what the rational fans sound like, because you can go into the full-blown hopium OU guys and you can go into the doomer OU guys. We have a convert, and I just want to say welcome to the bright side, Sooner Cowboys. Thank you for joining us, because,
he's hit his head
Sooner Cowboys times. If there's ever been a doomer, that was him, and he has seen it. So sometimes these guys flip. But I will say this is they have a good crew of wide receivers, and they've got a great running back here from the Oklahoma area. Nussmeier's injury will be an issue at some point this year. The significance of it, I'm still yet to see. It is a degenerative thing. It is something that he has an issue on, and this offensive line is really struggling to find it. And so, I can't see, guys. We could have won that game last year. You knock him out of it. You're on the road. You kind of had some things figured out. You're playing Death Valley at night, and then homeboy got himself an Infinity Stone shot that gave him all the healing that he needed. But still, that was an awful team last year that was able to go out there and put up a competitive piece.
It was the purple herb. It was the purple herb.
Oh yeah, the
Black
Wakanda
Panther.
forever.
They got them the Wakanda purple herb instead of for the tiger. They got a tiger version of it, the tiger heart. They grinded it up, poured it in him, and that dude was able to just regenerate whatever major issues he had in that game. But yeah, we knocked him smooth out. We right in the mouth, and we hit just about every team in the SEC like that. With just our defense doing all the work, and then we didn't have an offense to really reciprocate that, and it was no fault to the quarterback that tried. It just was what it was, right? Michael Hawkins was just dealt an unfortunate card, but we're going to be a lot healthier on the offensive line. A lot of people asking the questions: do we know who the offensive line is going to be? I have an idea. I've heard that I think Bill Beatonbow has his ideas, but at the same time, Bill Beatonbow, he hasn't had said who the exact offensive line is going to be like in any year that he's been here. It's always been a shift in deciding on who's the consistent person or whatnot. I don't expect Fasusi to start early. I expect Sexton to be out there if he's healthy. If Sexton's not healthy, Fasusi starting. That's just what it is. And he was dealing with I think it was like a slight concussion or something like that. But overall, knock on wood, I'll knock on Mjolnir too as well. Pretty healthy on the offensive line.
Yeah.
Couple of bells rung in spring practice, which is good. Not good, but it's not super serious. Think our offensive line is going to go out there against Illinois State, Michigan, and we'll have the offensive line that I believe is going to start. I think it's going to be Sexton. I think EPL. Actually, you know what? I think Heath Ozida takes that spot back. EPL rotates with them. Troy Everett in the middle. I think Waywu, of course, we already maximally know Everett and Waywu is going to win their spots. I think right tackle Derek Simmons owns that one to start. Logan Howland's right behind him for that, but then you'll see in that second unit of Fasusi, EPL, Mikla, Foger at the right, and then right tackle being Howland. So we're going to have 10 dudes that's going to be ready to play, which I'm very happy about. And you'll actually have another group with Jake Taylor, UK Dan, ready to get himself ready to go, right? So we actually have comfort. And I'm actually confident about the offensive line, and I'll break down the position in another video this week when I go through the offensive stuff. But no, not gonna lie, man. I think we actually end up winning this game. I think we get revenge from last year. I think that we actually close it. I think it's 30-20.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that. It does not matter. As long as you got more at the end of the game than the other team does, that's what I'm going for. And that's it. It's built on the lines. I think that the offensive line is, the difference between last year is you had guys, like Gabe said it best, like he would roll out there to practice, and the offensive line just looked horrendous, and anybody that he wanted to see out there was standing over on the side, in street clothes, and
a lot of street clothes.
That's not. A lot of street clothes look like a back to school commercial, instead of a football practice. So, yeah, it's going to be. You get, again, like I said, everybody that has got dinged up throughout spring will be back, or I guess throughout fall will be back this week, and you're getting ready for your practice. But I have a very, very, very good feeling about this team, not just because the team made incremental changes to get better, but again, I think that you lost a lot of the COVID super seniors, which were extremely older depth. You lost a lot of quarterback, comfort when you have a lot of the younger guys who are the next ones up, no longer be here, like a Nico. There's just a bunch of it. There's a lot of stuff, and you get a bunch of brand new quarterbacks with their teams coming into Norman or coming up against a Brent Venables defense, and the defense travels. And the difference is the teams that got us, a Texas, South Carolina, the offense did nothing to keep them. It's like playing pool at the end of the game. The offense basically didn't get anything in the hole and left the cue ball lined up right in front of the 8 ball in front of a hole. So it's like it just left an easy shot for you. And this is going to be a team to where I think it is going to be a full competitive team that is going to do the job that's out in front of them. You're going to have spectacular plays here and there, but I think when you look back at the end of the year, we're going to point at a bunch of different players and go, man, remember that time when they had this? Oh, yeah, remember that time when they did this? And you're going to have, instead of having a CeeDee Lamb or, a Kyler Murray, you're going to have just a full team effort.
Yep. We're going to have a nice big team effort on that one. All right. That's the final there, man. We're going to give it to you. So Coop, here you go. We're going to FaceTime you. I want you to give the people why you're riding with your 11-1 selection.
Same thing as I said at the beginning of it. The core truths that really are undeniable pieces are that you're not going to see an injury outbreak like you had last year. You're going to have a crew which is going to be better on both sets of the lines. The defensive line is deeper. It is stronger. They have more explosiveness end to end. You have younger guys on both the offensive and defensive line who now are ready to take another step. And then also, you're going to have better at the QB. We all knew what we saw. It's not like you could explain it away. The quarterback will be better this year, and the offense, therefore, will be better this year. And we all said it. This is at minimum an 8-4, 9-3 team. If you have anything resembling an offense last year, well, guess what? You have that this year with a weakened SEC schedule just straight across the board. So 11-1. I feel very, very good about the 11-1. If I miss it by a game, I'm still going to have a smile on my face on the end of the year.
That's good stuff. All right, so of course I got to tell y'all mine too. Look, this team won 6 games without actually having the offense help out. The defense did 90% of the work. People were asking the question of, okay, being asked a question in the chat, which is a good question. Do you think teams let up because they knew you didn't have an offense and they could win the game? Well, we had the lead in 9 games at the half. Well, 8 games at the half. And in a lot of those games, the game was very close at halftime. LSU, it was very close. They scored returned a punt for a touchdown right before halftime. So the games were close in all but South Carolina and Texas. That's it. Everything else was close. And because every other game was close, no, they weren't just letting up. They were probably let up in the fourth quarter, but they had to work for it. The Oklahoma that you saw against Alabama is the Oklahoma that we should see this season with majority of everybody back, healthy, and ready to play. So for me, the secondary is going to be better than it was last year. We got a lot of homegrown dudes that are ready to play. The linebacker room should see an improvement because the defensive line is so good, and the defensive line is so young too, which is awesome. They're going to be so good that the linebacker and the secondary are going to be able to play better ball. I think we have some of the best safeties out there in the country. That's what's going to help. And then, of course, we just talk about offense. You got John Mateer. You got Jay Knott. You got a plethora of wide receivers, an offensive line that should be 10 players that can play, and you'll feel comfortable with going on the field and not worrying about them doing anything. Everything from that Bama game to me tells me everything I felt about Oklahoma. That is why I'm picking them to go 11-1 and playing in the SEC championship game. Now, because we picked that, Coop, that means that you got them in the SEC championship game. Who do you think Oklahoma plays, and who do you think they win or lose?
We did this the other night. I think it's going to be Alabama. I think we're going to get a rematch, and I think we're going to have a Bama rematch. What is that? Just a couple weeks apart. Man, I mean, if I'm going this far, I do believe that game's going to be in Atlanta. And so that is going to be a heck of a matchup. And just like 2018, you lose a game, you get back to the title game, and you get your revenge. I think at that point, Oklahoma gets the revenge, not playing them in their home. And so I'm going to go with it's going to be a shocker. And, for those who wondering, are you guys drunk? Are you guys crazy, full on the Kool-Aid? I mean, just pay attention. More and more folks keep moving OU further and further up. And a lot more people are starting to noticing what's going on. You see it from SEC Mike. You see it from Josh Pate. A lot of these cats are doing the same thing. They realize what the difference was. And everybody's trying to explain it away. Why it's craziness. Well, if it's so much craziness, why are so many of the guys who are consistently right and do it the right way and don't do it for the clicks? Why are these people starting to kind of come around? Maybe ask yourself that. And it's because it's not just us.
Yeah, because, one of my favorites.
I knew you
Phil
were bringing
Steele.
that. I left that one for you.
Phil Steele has Oklahoma winning 10 games this year. He has the number 10 team in the country. Phil is high on Oklahoma. And Phil's been really good. He actually said that Oklahoma was going to bounce back from 2022 and win 10 games. Nobody believed him. Oklahoma did it. I am also, there's a few others. Pate said the same thing. He's looking through it. He's liking it. There's a lot of people that said last year, hey, man, I'm cautious about Oklahoma. I don't think they're going to be able to do it. So this year they're like, all right, I think they fixed all the problems they should have. Those are the ones that did it. So I'm in there with them. I'm in it with them. All right. We've gone long. We're almost 2 hours. So we're going to wrap this bad boy up. We'll give you all next show, which may be Wednesday. So just make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of the content that comes down the line. If we drop something on Wednesday, we will do what you asked, Jonathan. We will give you our bold predictions for this team. We'll go through stats. We'll look at passing, all of that stuff. And then following that up next Sunday, we will be talking week 1 college football season. Thank y'all for pulling up once again. Like, subscribe, bell notification. We will chop it up in each and every single one of you in a few days. Peace.